Mr. North and South American, all ships at sea, let's go to...
The Bitchspot Report. Welcome to the Bitchspot Report, the conservative atheist podcast that's not afraid to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Every week, your hosts, Cephas and Mike, will take on the latest religious and political news and examine the world around us from a distinctly conservative and skeptical perspective. Join us now for this episode of the Bitchspot Report. In case you didn't know, this is the Bitchspot Report, a weekly conservative atheist podcast that looks at the news of the day and the ideas of the religious and political from a distinctly conservative, skeptical, and rational perspective. You're listening to episode 41, somewhere in the middle of the thanks Christmas giving season. So they all kind of run together anymore. I'm your host, Cephas, and with me as always is my loyal co-host, Mike. How's it going?
Hello, everyone. It's going good.
Good. Well, first, before we get going this week, I want to apologize to our listeners because last week WordPress failed us entirely. I had the podcast scheduled to go up on Friday morning as normal, and since it's a holiday week and we're all busy, I didn't go back and check. But when I did go back to look when I was setting up this week's page, I discovered that it hadn't been posted like it was supposed to. So, therefore, last week's episode went up a little bit late, and I'm sorry for anybody who didn't get to listen on time, but it wasn't my fault. I actually had 3 WordPress posts on 3 different blogs fail catastrophically last week. So it's something with WordPress. I don't know.
Yeah, there's this new update, and actually the stats doesn't appear on the screen.
You're having that problem too, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just went ahead and I sent in maybe like a half hour ago. I went ahead and sent in a notice to the developers to say, what the fuck is going on, guys?
Right.
It's like everything else works. Google Analytics works. Just their stats doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, I clicked on it and up comes the stats, but that opening in that little window in the, in that main screen, nothing, So,
yeah, it's, please refresh to try again. And no matter how many times you refresh, it doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah. Well, whatever. There's something wrong with it. I don't know exactly what the problem is, but I'm just, for the foreseeable future, I'm going to keep looking and making sure everything gets posted on a daily basis. I mean, last week I wasn't around, so I didn't have the opportunity to do that, but.
Yes, I didn't update when I put my show out Friday I tried to set it for 4:30 in the morning, local time, and it went out. But I think that Friday when I checked, I noticed that it was an update because I hadn't updated the software. Mine went out. Did you do the update before you posted it?
I probably did. I don't remember exactly. So
because it does it automatic, it gives you that message in the beginning and stuff like that. I should realize our listeners probably don't know the inner workings of WordPress, but
I think you'd be surprised because a lot of the people who listen to us they're all bloggers too, so they know how this stuff works.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I had the whole thing was set up early Wednesday morning. I had it scheduled. And then Thursday I wasn't around. Friday I was busy. Saturday I was busy. And I came back to set up the podcast on Sunday and it's like, oh look, it's episode 4. Crap. That was supposed to be up. What's going on? But it's weird. All 3 of the posts that I had go wrong failed for completely different reasons. I mean, this one, it acted like it had never been scheduled. I had another one that said it failed and I went and looked and it actually posted, even though it said it failed. And then the third one, failed and it just never posted at all. And so I just had to reschedule it for another day and just not post that day. But I don't get it. It's not like they're all the same problem. It's 3 separate problems that all happened at the same time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Whatever you're doing, WordPress, fix it.
Please.
Yeah. I would take responsibility for it if I did it wrong, but I didn't do it wrong. I did the same thing I do every single week. And now I have to watch them to make sure they're actually doing things right. And you're going to have to excuse me because I'm just kind of getting over a cold, so I may sound a little weird this week, but trying not to cough and hack on the podcast.
That's what editing's for, right?
That's what editing's for. You got it.
Yeah.
Anyway, another thing I wanted to bring up. In a month, we're going to be doing our New Year's show, and we kind of wanted to get all of our listeners to join in. So what we were talking about was we wanted anybody who'd like to record a short audio segment telling us what your New Year's resolution is. Go ahead and record that for us. You can email us the segment, and we'll go ahead and include it on the show when it's aired on January 3rd, 2014. Anybody, particularly if it has something to do with religion or atheism or debate, whatever, something like that, politics, anything that falls within the wheelhouse of the show, go ahead and record something, 30 minutes, yeah. 30, not 30 minutes, no. 30 seconds, a minute, whatever. And as many as we get, we'll go ahead and we'll kind of pepper them into the show and everybody can get on there. Just get on, say, hi, this is blah blah from whatever, and my New Year's resolution is X. And, we'll just see how many we can get in there. And we'll have a discussion about ours when we get to that point and, hopefully have a little bit of listener interaction going on.
Yeah. Be way cool.
So did you, have anything going on this week?
Nothing much. Did do the, cognitive dissonance show. I interviewed. That was fun. That was, those guys move too fast for me. The way you hear it, when you listen to it, that's them. I mean, I don't think they edit their show probably.
Yeah, they do. They definitely.
But, no, it was pretty cool. We talked about conspiracies and stuff like that. And I mentioned the show, so I wonder if I was hoping to see the stats to see if there was any bump in the listenership.
What? No, doesn't work.
But it doesn't work, so, well.
Yeah, that's actually something I should probably do for the show page. I don't have Google Analytics set up for the show page. I should probably do that, so we at least have something. Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a bump, and it was great. I mean, and I got a lot of good feedback from it. Everyone seemed to like the interview, so hey, it was just a good time.
Yeah.
And I actually cut loose a little bit more than I normally would.
Yeah, well, you should, but yeah. All right, well, do you want to just go ahead and get to the news?
Let's get to the news.
All right. And now the news.
Next on PIJN News, Dr. Chaps reports on these important issues.
California Christians gathered 620,000 signatures against co-ed bathrooms. We show you a video of Colorado schoolgirls who were the victims of co-ed bathroom laws. And finally, the ENDA bill is forcing the gay agenda upon your public schools.
There is a demon of rape inside this movement to violate your daughters. That's what Gordon Klingenschmidt, our favorite religious fucktard, seems to think. As we've talked about before, he hates gays and transgender people, and he thinks that allowing transgender people to use a public restroom or locker room is the same as allowing them to visually rape you. He's now claimed that in a Colorado court case that there's a demon inside this movement to violate your daughters. Apparently, he thinks this is a horrible thing for a transgendered male to walk into a girl's restroom and somehow make the girls uncomfortable. Religious stupidity? Of course it's religious stupidity.
I mean, it's just stupidity. I mean,
yeah.
I'm believing in demons. I mean, yeah, the religious aspect, but oh my God, it's like, why does this guy have a DR at the beginning of his name? It should be taken away.
Dumb shit,
yeah.
He needs a DS. Yeah, I mean, he sits around and goes, oh, well, we can't make anybody uncomfortable. Well, apparently he doesn't give a shit if he makes transgender people uncomfortable.
Apparently to him they don't count.
Well, of course not, because he hates them. He hates them. He hates the gays. He hates everybody who's not a, white Christian individual. And, he doesn't give a shit how much he hurts any of those people. He'd probably want to go out and burn them all at the stake if he could.
Definitely. Yeah. The level of stupidity, I can kind of dig, Pat Robertson and his, the stupid stuff that comes out of his mouth. But, these people that go into the demons and, evil spirits and all that kind of stuff, it's like, dudes, even today's religion, I think pretty much, I know the Catholics, they like to exercise, do the exorcism stuff, but just to get to an exorcism in the Catholic Church takes quite a bit of effort. You just can't just start blurting out, oh yeah, that guy there, he's got a demon in him, and oh God, there's that guy in China who he was using his penis to exorcise vagina demons.
I think he was just telling people that.
Yeah.
That's the only way he could get laid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even Pat Robertson believes in demons. He teaches demons and evil spirits. Remember that story we did not too long ago about, the thrift store clothing demons and all that?
Yeah.
That's Pat Robertson. He's just as crazy as these guys.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at this going, it seems like the Looney Tune liberal left aren't the only ones to completely misuse the word rape. These people don't understand what this word means. They're all talking about, all this crappy, rape culture nonsense. And then this fucker's going, oh, there's demons of rape out there. You're being visually raped. You cannot visually rape somebody unless your eyes are shaped really, really weird and you put them someplace they don't belong.
Yes.
I'm sorry. That's just not what that word means.
Oh, I know the Catholics like to use the, impure thoughts and stuff like that is as much of a sin as physically exercising it, but, it just goes beyond that. I mean, and definitely this guy, his whole world is full of these, spirits and demons and stuff like that. And I'm sure, given the chance, if you sat down and talked to the guy, he'll probably be convinced there's demons in you and me.
Well, of course he is. But you gotta remember, this guy is insane. If you go over to Right Wing Watch, this guy is on their front page all the time, 2-3 times a week, because he's got that much religious craziness just coming out of him. There's an anti-bullying measure before Congress right now that he thinks is going to lead to children being molested. And he calls it the No Child Left Unmolested bill. This is this guy.
Yeah.
He's just a complete freak show.
Yeah. What is in his head? What?
The Bible. That's all he's got.
Apparently, there's gotta be more. He must have been molested. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think.
Dropped as a child repeatedly.
Yeah. Whatever. I mean, nowadays, demons, this is the 21st century, he's living in a 14th, 15th century world. And,
yeah. I mean, these people are not living in the 21st century. I don't care what their bodies might be, but their brains are, 8th or 9th century easy.
Yeah.
And they just can't deal with reality. I mean, these are the creationists. These are the people who think that everything in the Bible actually happened and Noah's Ark is up on Mount Ararat and all this other crap.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what can you do with these people? Really? I mean, these people their brains are malfunctioning on such a level that what's left? I mean, what's left up in their heads?
I don't know what this guy, is he an old guy, young
guy? Yeah,
guy?
he's an old guy, bald head. I mean, I'll put a picture of him up on the site, just so people can see who this jerk off is.
Yeah, because these guys and, of course they're influencing, the up and comings. So, so it's like, I mean, for us, he's wrong. We can probably debate the guy and try to convince the guy that, you're living in a fantasy world. The problem is that there's those who, like the Ray Comforts. I mean, I just saw something on him. Actually, I think it was like the top 10 crazy religious stuff, along the lines of what was it? It's guys like this Dr. Chaps. Dr. Chaps.
I do not want to, Dr. Assless Chaps. Yeah, no, I don't want to go. Let's not go there because that's more disturbing than what he says already.
Yeah. But, this guy, and he's influencing people and I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised that, between the Ray Comforts and some of those other guys, I'm trying to remember some of these others, these quote unquote, that doctor, God, I wish I could remember his name, but it was, he wrote the creationist dissertation or whatever, and now at a church, or his school was like basically a trailer out in the middle of Alabama, type of church or school. And they're just totally rejecting any evidence, any science. There was like an interview with Dawkins, this lady, and again, this lady was just so empty-headed. I mean, it was like, she said something about there's no fossil record, showing, transitional fossils, and Dawkins says, well, yes, there is. And she kept going, but because there's no, record of, it's just this parroting of everything, and definitely one of these organizations, family, whatever, and just mindless, just repeating. No thought has gone into this. There's no thinking. There's no questioning. These people don't do that. And you got this really empty-headed people, and they spout bullshit like this.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all they've got. That's the problem. All the evidence in the world has proven that everything that they believe is wrong. They've got nothing, but they can't give up these stupid beliefs either. So what do? All they can do is ignore the evidence that proves them wrong and claim that none of it is actually real. And there's an entire fundamentalist, industry built on this. You know, it's built on believing bullshit.
Yeah. And because it's big money, you know, it's, hey, until the money dries up, he'll just keep going.
Oh, of course. I mean, all they're out there doing is selling books, selling videos, selling, give me money, send me contributions, donate to me, all this other crap. That's their job. Their job is to bullshit the gullible. Well, Klingenschmidt is just doing that. He's bullshitting the gullible. Only he's one of the gullible. Pat Robertson is one of the gullible. Jimmy Swaggart, one of the gullible. Jim and Tammy Baker, they were the gullible. These are people who really believe the crap that they're spewing. And so you can't really reason them out of it because, you know, they never reasoned themselves into it in the first place.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's sad to watch these people, and you still stare at them and go, I don't believe anybody can be this dumb. I mean, how in the hell can these people be this damn stupid? And these are the same people that I debate on a regular basis. And they're just like this guy. There are demons everywhere, and God is here, and God's gonna save you, and Jesus is coming back, and la la la, and we have to build a temple, and, you know, and you're just sitting there going, you can't be that dumb. You can't. There is no way in the world that any human being with a functional higher brain can actually be as stupid as you are. But there's tons of them out there. I don't know what to do with them.
I don't know. We'll just keep gnawing away at it. Bring these stories up, you know, show the world that this is all bullshit. There are no demons in this world. I mean, if you do believe in demons, I mean, kind of, you know, just take a deep breath, kick back, rethink this. I mean, if you still want to believe in demons, there's not much I can do or you can do about it, but just realize, you know, that the rest of the world there are no demons. There is no black magic. There is no any of this. This is all stuff perpetrated to keep you dumb and broke. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and then they all sit around and bitch and whine going, why don't we have anything? Well, you don't have anything because you're stupid. You know, you have no education. You have no skills. You don't do anything. You sit on your ass and watch these religious programs and send them all your welfare money. You know, no wonder you're fucking dumb and stupid.
Yeah.
Or, you know, broke. You've earned it. And then you expect us to feel sorry for you. Nope, sorry, I don't. You know, but that's another discussion we should have at another time. But
yeah,
Jesus, these people just piss me off. And you laugh at them, and then you're just going, you know, this isn't
sad.
Really funny. It's just pathetic.
It's sad. I mean,
it is.
To me, I'm amazed at some of these stories I hear about people who, you know, they put so much faith in God that they quit their jobs. They become homeless. They live out in tents, out in their backyards or in, you know, wherever, believing that at some point God is going to make, you know, as long as they keep praying to God and whatever little money they collect, they put in the, you know, the collection plate or whatever, that God will reward them. And it's like, no, it don't work that way, guy. You know, it's get a job, clean yourself off, you know. And these are not dumb people. These are pretty, you know, in some cases they're pretty smart, you know.
Yeah, but they're gullible people. I mean, these are the same kind of people that you'd expect to fall for the Nigerian scams. You know, I mean, these are people who just believe things because they want to believe, not because they've got any good reason to actually believe them.
Yeah.
But I guess they will continue to be gullible, stupid, and broke.
Yeah.
Except for the leaders who are, you know, out there with multi-million-dollar houses, driving around in driving around in a Ferrari.
Right. Ferrari, the black Mercedes and all that kind of stuff. Yes.
All right. Well, that's depressing enough as it is. Let's do another story.
Yeah, this one. This is Democrat Kirsten Powers says party politics was her religion before her conversion. Former Democratic strategist Kirsten Powers, who worked in the Clinton administration, told Fox News on Sunday that she saw Democratic politics as her religion until she converted from atheism to Christianity a few years ago. What's wrong with this story?
Well, all right, first off, she doesn't understand what the hell religion is.
That's the first thing that struck me about this thing. The Democratic Party is a religion? I mean, where do you get that?
Well, I mean, she's probably coming from the same perspective as the ones who say, well, atheism is religion and money is a religion and all, you know, to them, everything is a religion, which makes the religion a completely pointless term to begin with, because if everything is a religion, then religion doesn't mean anything.
Right. I like to think myself being kind of Republican, but I don't see it as a religion. I mean, I just see it as, just a group of people who kind of think alike, and I want to stress like, kind of like.
Well, they don't even really think alike. Come on.
Yeah. But,
and the same thing is true of the Democrats. I mean, you've got some very huge differences between different groups of Democrats. You got the hyper liberals on the one side, you got the blue dogs on the other, and they do not share very much in common.
Yeah. But they're trying to create a religion, or believe that it's a religion, and there's some screw came loose in her head. Like I know that we've always stressed that atheism is not a religion. It's nothing. It's just describes what we believe, that there's no God and there's nothing out there. So giving it it's more of a name to what we are as opposed to any type of, we don't go to atheist church. We don't go
Some of us do.
Well,
unfortunately.
I'm just saying that, guys like us, we don't.
Right. Rational people don't.
Rational people don't, but there's those who, they are trying to link atheism and politics, and all this other stuff together. But atheism is just, hey, we just don't believe in God. That's all it is. There's nothing more to it. We don't have a secret handshake. We don't go to secret meetings at, we don't have a skull and bones type place. We just don't believe in God. And so this person either maybe was probably more agnostic, probably had a belief. I think her husband was a Christian, so.
Well, no, it was never her husband. She originally started going to church to please her Christian boyfriend.
Okay, boyfriend.
It was never her husband. And then when he left, she adopted Christianity emotionally, because she had an emotional attachment to Christianity. That's the one thing that you never see in any of these stories. And there are plenty of stories of, this person was an atheist and they became a Christian or became a Buddhist or whatever. But you never, ever, ever see these people who were active, rational atheists. People who were, I want the evidence first and foremost. These are people who are more default atheists. They just don't have a belief. They have not rationally come to a reason why they should not have a belief. They just don't. They're like babies. Babies are not born with beliefs. They have to be indoctrinated into them. But babies have never reasoned that they need evidence before they're going to believe something. So I don't really see that she was ever one of those people. And I've talked to an awful lot of atheists who have gone to religion, and I don't think I've ever seen one who has come from a rational standpoint, who has said, I need evidence, and then has gone and used that to adopt a religious view. I don't think that's happened. I don't think it can happen.
It shouldn't happen.
Well, it can't, because there's no evidence.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, again, like with me, growing up, my parents didn't force religion on me. I guess they wanted us to make our own decisions, on religion. So it wasn't really, I didn't show a real strong interest in religion. Some of my brothers did, and then one brother who kind of got screwed and not in the bad way, screwed, but not what you might think. But the one brother got screwed by the church, but we we were allowed to make our own decisions, and and I kind of made it pretty quickly. There was no God, and apparently this lady probably was. My personal opinion, I don't know if this is really true, but probably her beliefs hadn't congealed yet, and probably being possibly being a Democratic strategist, probably was probably more career oriented than anything else, and then having the boyfriend being Christian probably kind of fed her some thoughts, and eventually it congealed into converting to, or not converting, it's not really conversion, but going to Christianity, giving up the atheism, that would make sense, but there doesn't seem to be any rationality, because she equates the Democratic Party as being a religion. So it's like there was not much thought power going behind her decision.
Well, that's obvious because of what religion she converted to. She went from non-belief in anything to fundamentalist Christianity, and then she gets on Fox News and she starts playing to their crowd. Well, of course, she's an analyst, or she's a strategist. That's what she does. She plays to the crowd. She says what they want her to say. That's her job. I do think it was very interesting that she said in the article that Christianity brings a lot of its own problems on itself, which has been my position for an awful long time. Yeah, maybe she needs to go out and start teaching Christians how to actually act and, how to stop being idiots online and all the rest of that. Although I don't think it would really help because most of these people really are idiots.
Yeah.
She's just joined the choir of idiots.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, if she was, I hate to use the term rational to describe anything Christian. But, if there is such a thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll really talk a lot about that later, but.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it'd be kind of nice if someone like that could, hey people, Christianity isn't the catch-all get-all type thing. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it will never do anything because she's just one of the crowd. Yeah. She's gonna believe the same stupid shit everybody else believes. And, we've already seen that her rational faculties are not, firing on all cylinders already. Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, I must have missed the National Church of the Democratic Party or something. There must have invisible churches on the corners or something.
Apparently. Where
do these people meet? What's their mantra? Where's their holy book? Because apparently she doesn't know what a fucking religion is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is a very common claim. Unfortunately, it happens all the time where these people think everything is a religion. And, the same thing, they think everybody has faith. Everybody has faith, therefore you can't criticize me for this ridiculous bullshit that I believe. Well, no, it doesn't work that way. They're playing with the words so that they can make themselves look a little bit less silly, and it doesn't really work that way, unfortunately.
Right.
So, you think we've beat this one up enough?
Enough. I think so.
All right.
And now to that Amish family on the run to avoid medical treatment after the courts ordered 10-year-old Sarah Hirschberger to undergo chemotherapy to treat her leukemia. Now, her parents, who object to the treatment, have taken their daughter and fled. ABC's Alex Perez has this story.
This morning, there's a mystery swirling around a 10-year-old Amish girl who doctors say could die if she doesn't get life-saving chemotherapy. Sarah Hirschberger and her parents, who oppose the chemotherapy, have vanished, leaving the country to seek alternative treatments.
It is not just the constitutional right, but the moral right to refuse conventional medical treatment.
The girl's chemotherapy treatment initially worked. The tumors got smaller. But in a rare interview by phone last August, her father explained why they stopped the treatment.
We've seen how sick it makes her.
Hirschberger said the family wanted to focus on herbal and natural remedies.
Our belief is the natural stuff will do just as much as what that does, if it's God's will.
But in October, a judge sided with the hospital, appointing a nurse to be the girl's temporary guardian to handle medical decisions. The family won't say where they are now, but have no plans to return to their Ohio home anytime soon.
Sarah's condition has gotten a lot better since the family's been pursuing the alternative treatment.
Doctors say without chemotherapy, the girl could die within a year.
Without chemotherapy, the survival rates are very, very poor.
Hospital officials decline to comment on the case or whether they will seek other legal action. Law enforcement officials say at this point, there is no formal search for the girl.
Oh joy, another religion makes people kill their kids story. Don't you love those?
I wish we didn't. I would really love. I'll let you do the story. Because
I'd really love not to have to do these either, but they're everywhere. In Ohio, an Amish girl and her family have fled in order to avoid court-ordered chemotherapy for the girl who has leukemia. The girl was doing well on treatment until the family decided to stop providing chemotherapy and put her on a natural treatment consisting of plants and herbs. Oh yes, and prayer. We can't forget about prayer. The state ruled that the beliefs of the parents do not give them the right to harm the child and gave limited guardianship of Sarah to ensure that she gets the medical treatment she needs. The chemotherapy might be making her sick, but the leukemia is going to be making her dead, and she'll just become another statistic in the long, long list of religious parents who've let their beliefs kill their kids.
Yeah. I don't know. I really wish these stories would go away.
I do too. The problem is, alright, yes, leukemia sucks. We got that. The treatment of leukemia sucks. However, prayer has never been shown to be an effective means of treating leukemia. Natural medicine has never shown to cure cancer. I'd give the parents a choice. They can either sign off on natural medicine if they agree to be charged with murder if their kid dies. If they're so convinced God's going to cure their kid, why don't they agree to that? Why don't they say, hey, if my child dies and God doesn't save my child, I agree to be put in prison for the rest of my life with no chance of parole because I made that choice. I don't see them volunteering for that.
Definitely not. I mean, I've been researching for I'm going to do a vaccine show next, and I come across this book. I mean, I'm reading it, and it's sounding an awful lot like an anti-vax book. And there's like this common theme through it that the parents have the right, and the state can't interfere with a parent's right to decide what's best for their children. And their basic argument is, of course in this book, but it's about vaccines. So I think it's really the parent can decide not to vaccinate their kids. And it should be illegal for the state to mandate mandatory vaccinations. And thinking about this a little bit in this case too, I mean, I guess, when you're dealing with rights and privileges and, there's in the United States, we have certain rights. I mean, there's inalienable rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. There's, rights that are guaranteed by our Constitution. There are responsibilities that goes along with that. And there's privileges that the state grants because, for various reasons. And I think, in a way, I'm thinking ahead of myself here a little bit, but while we have we have these rights, privileges, so on, we can't interfere with other people. In a house, you can't do something with your house that you can't put an addition on your house into your neighbor's property. You don't do that. Even though you feel that you may have the right to do that, but you are interfering with your neighbor and, interfering with his right to his property. And this idea that the parent has the right over the child, but the child should have and should be guaranteed rights to get the best care. And unfortunately, and I think it's kind of the same, but it's a little different, but it's like these parents are infringing upon their child's right to life by denying her or him or her medical care. And it just seems to me that there's this struggle between a parent's right to decide what's best for their child and what's best for the child. And I think, what's getting screwed up here is that, I don't know how the Amish think. I mean, they're supposed to, anything after a certain date they can't use. So that's why they use the horse and buggy, wooden shovels, all that kind of stuff, where anything modern they're not allowed to use. So these procedures, chemotherapy is off limits because it doesn't fit their religion. But you know what? You're infringing upon this kid's right to life. And I mean, yeah, chemotherapy sucks. Cancer sucks even worse, but it works. And this kid may actually have a chance of living a long life with the chemotherapy, but their parents is infringing upon her right to life. And I hope I made some sense here, because there seems to be this attitude that my rights are more important than someone else's rights, and that's not the case. Driving is not a right, it's a privilege. And I get a license to use these roads. Now I pay taxes. They can't totally bar me from the road, but driving is a privilege granted by the state. It's nothing inalienable. It's not a right. And definitely here in the United States, there's nothing in the Constitution that guarantees me, the right to drive a car. I have to get permission from the state to use these roads. And when I'm on the roads, I'm not supposed to hit someone else, either on purpose or an accident. You're supposed to, respect other people's property. I mean, the car in front of you and the car behind you is someone else's property, and you don't want to be responsible. You don't want to damage it. So you try to follow the rules of the road and that type of thing. You kind of step beyond if you decide, well, I don't like that guy in front, so you just jam on the accelerator, hit him, and you don't like the guy behind you, so you jam on your brake. You're interfering with someone else's right to life, liberty, and, pursuit of happiness. You're destroying their property. We don't do that. We're not supposed to do that. And, so no one has more right over someone or something. And I mean, that's what I see here in this article is these parents seem to want to have the right that exceeds the right of the child, which means that these parents and whoever is encouraging them or whatever to deny this kid a life-saving procedure. And I think it's really like a load of bullshit. And there's these lawyers that are pushing that.
Yeah, but I mean, you've really got to figure out where we're going to draw the line between religious freedom and child abuse. I mean,
Right.
What if this wasn't medical? All right, what if this was Muslim parents who wanted to sell their daughter, as a child bride? Should they be allowed to do that? Should religious parents say, well, I believe that we should start having sex with this kid at age 5? Should we allow that? Should we allow kids to hold poisonous snakes, drink poison, or whatever the hell these religious nutballs, want to do? Yeah. Should we really be able to say, okay, it is acceptable for the religious to impose anything, no matter how crazy, on their kids? And the answer is no. Because in this country, we have something called equal protection under the law. And it does not start when they turn 18. And let's face it, there's a lot of religious people out there who think that, like, their daughters are their personal property until they get married, when they become the personal property of their husbands. And that doesn't fly either.
Right.
So I don't think any of this stuff should work at all.
Right.
There should be an expectation. If you want to have whatever religious beliefs you want, and you're over the age of 18 and you're legally an adult and you want to do whatever the hell you want to do to your body, knock yourself out. Until you're the age of 18, you have a responsibility to provide for your underage child. Yeah. And you can't get around that. You can't abuse him. You can't whip him. You can't beat him. You can't rape him. You can't molest him. You can't marry him off. You can't sell him to the highest bidder. You can't keep them from the doctor. You can't just sit there and pray over them. You can't do it. Religion needs to fuck the hell off and go away. Because that's not the way that we work in this country. You want to do that? Go live in fucking Pakistan. That's not the way we work in America.
It shouldn't be anywhere. It shouldn't
be, but, we have the system set up specifically in this country where that's how it works. Where we do have equal protection. Where, you can't treat your female daughter any differently than your male son. You can't do these things. You can't molest the girls and leave the boy, let the boys molest the girls or whatever. The law applies to everyone at every age. This thing is bullshit. It is.
Yeah. But definitely, I guess that's what I was driving to is, there are certain limits and the requirements. Part of my train of thought here is, you want to treat everyone fair. You don't want to impinge on other people's lives and properties and stuff like that. And same token, these parents are impinging upon their children's life. You're overstepping your bounds as a parent to, deny your kids, health care, raping them, selling them off, whatever the deal is, so I'm hoping that they're chasing this guy down or these people down to get this kid.
Oh, they are. I mean, they went on the lam. They had to go into court. They didn't show up. They went out to their house. Their house was empty. They were gone.
Yeah.
Who knows who the hell these people are?
Right.
Who knows if this kid is still alive?
Right. And hopefully they get arrested. Yes, I'd like to see him go to jail, but I really would hope this to be something that people, again, to wake people up and saying, especially these people who wants to pray over their kids, then get them medical help. And,
yeah, but the problem is it won't change their minds because these people don't give a shit what the law says. These people don't care about the United States. They don't care about the laws. They care about their religion. That's all they care about. If the law says they can't pray this or they can't go there or they can't do this, they will ignore the law and do whatever their religious beliefs say because that's the only thing that matters to them in their lives. Their kids are not individual human beings. Their kids are basically property as far as they're concerned.
Yeah.
We really need to change the laws in this country to say that your religious beliefs are only applicable to you. If you want to do this to yourself, knock yourself out. You are not allowed to apply this stuff to your kids. You can't. You can tell them to believe things. You can drag them to churches. But until they're 18 and they're legal adults, they don't have the right to opt out of medical treatment, and you don't have the right to opt them out of medical treatment.
Medical treatment, education.
Yeah, because in the end, these people, let's face it, this girl, if she gets really, really sick, and there have been other cases where this kind of thing has happened, where the parents have just taken off with their kid to keep them from getting the medical treatment they need, and then they bring them back when the kid is almost dead. And who ends up paying for that? We do. Yeah. The taxpayer pays for all this crap. So the state has a vested interest in not allowing this crap to happen because we are going to pay for it. And it's not our freaking job to pay for any of these people anyway, but we're going to end up paying for it because they didn't get it done when it had a chance to save their lives. So now we have to go to extraordinary means to try to save this kid's life because his parents are religious fucktards.
Yeah.
So yes, the state has a very serious vested interest in not allowing these parents to be stupid because, then it ends up being the state and the taxpayers who are paying for all this treatment. And we have no real place in doing it. And if they would just have done it right in the first place, it wouldn't have been an issue. So, I mean, yeah, we can put the parents in jail, but it won't make a damn bit of difference to anybody else who's doing the same thing because as far as they're concerned, hey, going to jail for God, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
These people are just idiots.
I mean, I would love to see like cases like this to wake up call somebody, and unfortunately we keep having these stories. So
yeah, because it's not a wake up call. It's not a wake up call at all.
Yeah,
the other people are looking at these guys like heroes. Like this is who we need to be like. We need to stand up for our religious beliefs and we need to be willing to go to jail or die or whatever, to show that we really believe this. These people are not going to grow up and go, oh, well, it was really a bad thing for them, so maybe we should act different. No, they're going to be strengthened in their resolve to act exactly the same way and to go to any extreme.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, people need to be shot.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely, something's got to be done. And I don't even know what. I mean, you pass laws and, they're going to claim, oppressions, and I hate to think of it being a no-win situation, but something's got to give. And if it means, I don't know what it would take, really. And that would sink in that children are not property. They have rights under the Constitution. Actually, I don't know why they don't argue that, but it's
because it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't make a difference to these people who are going to say our religious beliefs say that children are our property and we don't give a shit what the Constitution says. The Constitution says we have the right to our religion and therefore we get to basically ignore anything in the damn Constitution we want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a mess.
I don't know. I mean, until these people, if it could change their mindset, it's going to take a mindset change. And, I think with a lot of these people, it's going to be a sledgehammer to the side of the head to get them to change their mind.
Well, I'm entirely fine with that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
To be real honest, most of these people are incapable of ever changing their minds. The only thing that's going to change their minds is death. And for a lot of the ultra fundamentalists, every generation, they're going down a little bit. Maybe we just need to help them.
Yeah.
It's going to be a couple of generations until these fundamentalist fucks are just gone. Probably considerable number of generations, 200-300 years until we get rid of all these idiots because reason doesn't mean anything to them. The law doesn't mean anything to them. Nothing means anything to them except for their religious beliefs. You can't reason with them. You can't prove they're wrong. You can't argue with them. The only thing that's going to happen is they're going to have to die and take their stupid beliefs with them, and hopefully their kids will realize just how stupid those beliefs are. But I don't know what else to do.
Yeah. I don't know.
See, now we're all depressed over this story.
Yeah, unfortunately, but I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, I don't know what else to do here. Go ahead and take it.
Okay, this is from, I don't know what this site is, Carbonated TV, but it's Angola becomes first country to ban Islam. Is it fair? If the reports are to be believed, Angola has become the first country in the world to ban Islam. They add that the country's administration even destroyed a mosque in the city of Zango, while those left standing would remain closed until further notice. I really hope this isn't a Onion or some type of parody site, because this is a good start.
Well, it would be, but I'm not sure if it's real. Even at the bottom of the story, it says that Angola says that's not the case, but who knows? And I will address these stories as the stories I'm not necessarily claiming that this is a true story or a false story, but it's an interesting story to talk about.
It's interesting. I mean, because down here at the bottom of the article, in an update, International Business Time reports an official at the Angolan embassy in Washington, D.C., who did not want to be identified while discussing the sensitive matter, said that there is no such ban and the reports are erroneous. The Republic of Angola is a country that does not interfere in religion. IBT adds the officials, quote, but we have a lot of religions there. It is freedom of religion. We have Catholic, Protestants, Baptists, Muslims, and evangelical people. However, there hasn't been a public acknowledgement or denial of the reports from Angola so far. So,
well, I mean, I'm willing to treat this as a thought experiment, even if it isn't real.
Yeah, right.
And let's be really honest, Angola does not have the power to ban Islam. They can ban organized Islam. They can ban organized worship, but they can't stop people from believing whatever crap they want to stick in their heads. There's no way to ban Islam. All right? If you want to sit in your house and read the Quran and bow down to Mecca 3 times a day, knock yourself out. There's not a goddamn thing that they can do about it. They're not going door to door dragging people off to the gulags.
Right. Yeah, I mean, definitely, and just focusing on one. I mean, all these other ones, it's listed in the article. I mean, they're all in a way pretty screwed up, especially the Baptists and evangelicals. So targeting one religion over a bunch, I mean, really, you either do them all, ban them all, or you let them be. And that is America. I mean, we can't ban, or, we don't ban, we don't interfere with, we're not supposed to interfere with religion, with their practice. It's just that you can't bring that into government type of thing.
Well, I disagree. I disagree with you there.
I mean, with the separation, religion can do what they want, but we can't, the United States cannot condone, or we can't have a state religion here in the United States. The Constitution forbids it, and the government cannot endorse any particular religion or any group of religions. And on top of it, that the religions can operate on their own, and that's the way it's supposed to work. And I mean, granted, Pat Roberts trying to run for president. You got the moral majority that's infiltrated the Republican Party. I am sure there's others have infiltrated other subgroups and so on, trying to get political clout. I mean, in the 40s, I think I've talked about Father Coughlin. He tried to press forward the independence presidential election. So it's going to be there. But then again, it just depends. Having a Pat Robertson as a president, that's a very scary thought.
Oh, it would never happen. And even if he did, even if he started to make any kind of religious activity, he'd get his ass thrown out of office. Like, they wouldn't even wait till he was impeached. They'd just chuck his ass out the window.
Yeah.
But getting back to Angola, it depends really on what they're doing. All right. They have every right to forcibly stop practice that they interpret as dangerous. So if doing this is their means to combat extremist terrorist Islam, then I'm all for it.
Yeah.
If that's the kind of thing that's going on, that they're saying, all right, the form of Islam that we have in this country is all the ultra fundamentalist, extremist, terrorist version, then sure, go ahead and outlaw it. I'm cool with that. Now, if it's just a way to force people to adopt another religion, that's a different matter.
Right.
All right. And Angola is primarily Christian. There aren't a lot of Muslims in the country. Primarily it's a Christian country, quote unquote Christian country. So if they're just going, well, we're going to take all of these little religious sects and we're going to say we're going to outlaw your sect so that you are forced to adopt this other religious belief, that I don't think is acceptable.
Right.
Like I said, it depends on how they go about it, but, I can certainly see a reason to outlaw Islam. If in this country, every Muslim church was out there, with machine guns screaming Allah Akbar, then yes, I would say we have every reason to basically outlaw all those churches. But that's not the case. And we have a lot of perfectly reasonable, rational, I don't want to say rational, but, reasonable, peaceful, friendly, happy Muslims. I got a damn mosque, half mile down the street. They're good people. I like those people. They're actually really nice people. I interact with them all the time, and they're good people. But if they were out there as extremists, I'd want them shut down too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not sure how you really, how they're spinning it, or if they're spinning it at all. Like I said, this could just be a big pile of bullshit. And,
Yeah.
and we're just talking about a possibility, but you know.
Right. Yeah, I mean, out and out banning without banning the rest of them doesn't sound right. If these were Islamic sects that were, maybe more militant or determined to be militant, yeah, I can see shutting those down. I'm just trying to think what else, but just,
if we went to Pakistan and say, there's a good place we should shut down Islam, or Saudi Arabia, or Iran, or Iraq, or Afghanistan, or any of those places, I would be entirely fine with the government shutting down those religions. But then again, that's never going to happen because those countries are run by those religions.
Right, right.
That's why they literally get away with murder.
Yeah, when it's like the United States saying you gotta, I don't even want to go down that route.
Well, I mean, I would even support it here. But I wouldn't say let's shut down all of Islam or all of Christianity or all of anything. But yeah, you go out and get those gun-toting redneck religious fucks, snake handling, poison swallowing, all that crap.
Yeah.
Those people, I think the government ought to go out and say, wrong, shutting their ass down. That's not acceptable. Sorry. Go join a better church or get better beliefs or stop being stupid. But I have no problem with shutting those people down. I'm entirely fine with it.
I'm good with especially when what they're doing is dangerous and hurt people. Well, not only themselves but their neighbors and what have you. So that's that definitely I would not have a major issue with that.
Well, I mean, case in point, the guy who was on or who will or is or whatever on that stupid snake handling show, if that's even still a thing, I don't even know because I don't pay attention. But he got his ass hauled into court because he was keeping poisonous snakes illegally in his church, which is really his house, or a trailer or whatever it is. It's a tiny little place with like 16 members. But they confiscated all of his snakes. They took him into court. They basically said, this is not acceptable. You cannot do this. He left the courthouse, went straight out, got more snakes and started handling them. People like that need to be fucking shot in the head. It's like, I'm sorry. You got to respect the law. The law applies to everybody, not just the people who don't have stupid religious beliefs. Right. Your religion does not override the law. It shouldn't anywhere.
Right. Right.
Well, you want to go ahead and do the main event?
Let's do the main event.
This is the main event.
Atheists often say that theists are wrong in their claims and their ideas, but usually don't go into a lot of detail why they're wrong or why what they say is not convincing. Therefore, I thought it would be interesting to start a discussion this week, and certainly this isn't going to be a complete discussion because it's a very involved subject, but not only about why theists are wrong, but exactly what they're doing wrong and what it might take for them to get it right or to be at all convincing to atheists. I mean, I talked to an awful lot of theists, and they don't seem to have a clue why what they're doing is just ridiculous. And nobody really seems to explain it to them. I mean, I see an awful lot of debates where it's just, you're wrong. Why are they wrong? What are they doing wrong? Where are they failing? How could they be more convincing? I'd love to find theists who could be more convincing. They just aren't.
Right.
I mean, I know we don't have many theist listeners, so this isn't necessarily for them, although I do know that we have at least one, and he's going to be on the show early next year, so we can look forward to that. But, in general, I think that it's a subject that atheists ought to be more well-versed in. We should be able to tell a theist what the hell they're doing wrong and why we don't believe what they're saying.
Yeah. I mean, I know when you're dealing with conspiracies and stuff like that, and pretty much anything, and I can even relate to early in my career and coming straight out of school, kind of thinking I knew everything, and I would do these designs, and the engineer would say, well, this is all wrong. And I go, well, why is it wrong? And he goes, because it's wrong. Not even giving you a reason. You're a designer. You're supposed to know how to do this stuff, type of attitudes. Yeah, so now I'm older and I'm a little bit more wiser, I think, and especially with a lot of experiences under my belt. I'm realizing, and I'm actually having fun. I'm actually writing training for, I'm going to try to do some training stuff for up and coming designers, electrical designers, and explain how to do and what needs to be done. And I'm realizing, it's like what I need to give to the trainee or to the student, what they need to know. And I've seen the back and forth between, atheists and theists and, watching videos and stuff like that. And it's like, they don't want to explain it. They will say they'll just say, the Bible says so. The Bible, they derive from that one source. I guess, one, we need to, impress upon those who are trying to press forward their beliefs on religion is, why do you believe that? What proof do you have? Basically the basic skeptical questions. Well, what proof do you have? What evidence can you present? And that type of thing. But then on the other side, what we need to be able to do to understand what they're trying to tell us. It's like, I see these people, they say, well, yeah, Genesis, blah, 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 says this. And says, well, okay, well, what is that really telling me? Type of thing, or what are you saying? It's like you're quoting a Bible, that don't mean anything to me. What does that supposed to mean to me? If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, it does. And we need to really look at all these encounters with theists as teachable moments. We need to understand that, they believe what they believe, and that's fine, I guess, but they need to be instructed on how to take things up a notch. And I've come up with 4 areas that I think theists really, really fail to be convincing to atheists in. And to be really honest, where I think they're completely hypocritical. And I think we need to look at these 4 areas really not only as the beliefs that they are presenting, but the things that they're probably not even considering about the beliefs they're presenting. And maybe some ways that we can help them to understand that making this claim is not only not convincing to anybody, but it's completely hypocritical based on what you believe. First I wanted to say that theists have really rewritten their gods into the position where they're not demonstrable. All we have to do is look at the Bible and see that, from the beginning, God was out there walking with Adam and Eve and talking with them and all this other stuff. The gods have always been very accessible to people, right up until the time people developed the means to go look for the gods. The gods were up on the top of the mountain until people started going up the side of the mountain and realizing, hey, there's no gods up here. So they kept moving their gods. Oh, well, they're really there, but they're invisible. Oh, but they're really there. They're floating in the clouds, or they're doing something else. And the farther human science and innovation and invention has gone, the more they've had to stuff their gods into these little cracks and crevices, until now Christians simply define God as impossible to find. You can never meet God, you can never talk to God, you can never do anything. There is no conceivable way that you can ever find any kind of evidence for God at all, ever. But they don't recognize that they just keep stuffing their gods into smaller and smaller and smaller boxes until they just said, screw it, I'm just going to declare the box invisible and intangible. It's ridiculous. But they obviously don't understand that. So first, I wanted to talk about faith. Theists are good at saying that you have to have faith, but to be real honest, they don't respect faith. And they don't respect the faith of any other religious group. They don't recognize that their faith is just as empty as the faith of any other religion. They can sit down and be going, you have to have faith in my God. Well, okay. So why can't a Muslim say you have to have faith in Allah and you'll know that Allah is true? Or a Hindu say you have to have faith in Vishnu and you'll know that Vishnu is true. They completely throw out the exact same argument in any other religion while using it in their own. And it's completely hypocritical.
Right. Yeah. Just trying to think here a little bit, because it's unfortunate that for their God to exist, you have to have faith. You have to have faith that God exists. And if you don't, then God doesn't exist. But it's,
Yeah, well, I'm looking at it like it's about the same as conspiracy theorists. You have to have faith in the conspiracy in order to see the conspiracy. And as soon as you lose that faith, as soon as you stop making all those little tiny connections and all that other stuff, the whole theory just falls apart because it's ridiculous.
Right.
I like Matt Delahunty's definition of faith. In round terms, it's, the faith is the excuse you give for believing in things for which you have no good reason. I buy that.
I buy that, yeah. Because that's always seems to be the glue. That faith is the glue between the person and their God. That's the only thing that gives God a kind of a purpose and a reason almost. If you don't have faith, there's no God. I mean, God can't exist. And,
yeah, but they miss the fact that they are claiming you have to have faith in their God in order to see their God. And then somebody from another religion comes up and says, well, you have to have faith in our God to see our God. But they completely discount that faith. They ignore it. They pretend it doesn't exist because it's the same damn claim that they're making for their own God. But they can't accept it in anybody else's God because otherwise it just invalidates their entire religion.
Right. The human God connection. I mean, that's, because on top of it, man created God in his image, so, person and God, faith, connection, they can't accept the fact that the guy standing next to him who believes in Allah, he's got his faith, the human faith, Allah connection. First of all, it doesn't make sense to the opposite side because that's not my God. My God is this, not that, and, again, a person who believes in God, faith is the glue, but there's like a connection, like, they could see themselves in their God, which is, that's why I say man created God in his image. So the Muslim in Allah, he sees himself in Allah and of course they can't understand I believe in God. I have a bit closer connection to God versus Allah, which of course, it could be that in reality they're both kind of the same, if I'm on the right track.
Yeah, no, I think you're doing just fine. I mean, most people do end up believing in the gods that are prevalent within the culture that they grew up in. You just happen to grow up in the culture where the one true God happens to be the real one, as opposed to one of the other cultures, which are also claiming that the one true God is the one that they grew up in.
Right.
It's just hypocrisy when these people can't understand that all these religions are essentially saying the same thing. Doesn't matter what religion you're talking about, they're all saying, you gotta have faith and my God's the real one. But they can't understand that all the other religions are saying the same thing that they're saying, and they're rejecting the other religions for the same reason the other religions are rejecting them.
Yeah.
And if we could just get these people to understand that everybody is saying the same damn thing, and they're just arbitrarily picking one God over another. I mean, there's like 3,000 gods out there that man's invented for himself to worship, and they're all identical. They're all the same. And their worshipers all act the same. And they all do the same stuff, and they make the same claims, and every single one of them rejects 2,999 of the other gods. Yeah. And it's dumb.
Right. But then again, that leads to, I think kind of almost what we're talking about being rational. They can't step back and step out of themselves, and say, here's my, me and my God, here's me and Allah, here's me, whatever. And looking at, overall, kind of like, well, as a skeptic, what I like to do is I like to step out of I do get kind of wrapped up, in, like just finishing up JFK stuff, it's like I'm totally convinced, Oswald was the lone shooter. But it doesn't hurt to step out of that. Look at what everyone else is saying. There's all those, there's hundreds of different combinations of different conspiracies and people doing different things. And you kind of step back and you say, okay, let me relook at this. Was Oswald really the shooter? Could the CIA, whatever. And then for me, I always end up returning back to Oswald being the lone shooter, and, JFK, there's no conspiracy. It's just one guy shooting Kennedy. Like for these religious types, being able to step out of their religion, which I guess technically in a realistic sense, they can't because they're just so locked into their belief. But if they could just step back and say, okay, I believe in the Jewish God or the Abrahamic God or whatever that, looking at the different cultures, the different religions, even the ancient gods, ancient religions and so on, and then realizing, hey, might be just, maybe my God is really this one, not the one I've been following. But, they can't. They're so locked into their pre-assembled world. They can't. And that's why you will get this. I think that's why you get this my God is better than your God type stuff.
Yeah, because your God is identical to the other guy's God. They're both imaginary.
Yeah.
And the same thing going on to number 2, which is holy books. It's the same thing. It's everybody going, my book is better than your book. My book is inerrant and perfect in every way, and your book isn't. And everybody says the same thing. The Quran is the best book out there. The Bible is the best book out there. The Vedas are the best book out there. Harry Potter is the best book out there. It's all the same thing, and nobody's really willing to evaluate the claims objectively. They're not willing to even realize that everybody's saying the same thing. And everybody's book, according to them, is the only perfect book out there. But they won't listen that it's just the same crap with a different name slapped on it. And I don't know.
Between the Old Testament, New Testament stuff, within the Christian, the old Jewish Bible, and then over the top of it, throw some Christian on top of it and make a book out of it. I mean, I'm still kind of blown away that a lot of these evangelicals, they rewrite the Bible every so many years, just to fit their, whatever agenda they're trying to push forward, so it's, they don't want to, they can't, but they should step back and look at these different books and say, oh, I didn't realize the Old Testament is these books of the Jewish faith, I mean, a lot of these Christians, they blame the Jews for killing their savior, and it's like, well, wait a minute, your savior was a Jew, it's like that kind of screwed up, mentality there. But, being able to step back and, look at what you believe, there's nothing wrong, nothing really dangerous either, unless you do realize, holy shit, this is all bullshit,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but unfortunately, they're just not willing to stop and listen and realize that everybody is saying the exact same thing to each other, and then everybody's just rejecting what everybody else is saying. It's just, It's stupid.
Right. Well, I'm not going to accuse them of being smart. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that's what I'd like to encourage them to do. I'd like to encourage them to think about what the hell they're saying and what the hell they're doing, and make them realize that they're just being complete hypocrites.
Right.
All right, well, number 3 was personal experiences. And, of course, personal experiences are, by definition, personal, and they will never, ever convince anybody else. So there's a lot of Christians who think that, they'll come up to you and they'll try to convert you and all this other stuff, but they'll give you all kinds of really bizarre reasons why you should convert. And you ask them, well, what convinced you? What was it that actually made you believe any of this stuff? And they say, well, I had some kind of a personal, mystical, magical experience. But the problem is none of them have ever looked at their experiences intellectually. 100% of all personal experience claims I've ever encountered have been irrational. They make claims that are just not demonstrable. And I mean, case in point, I've used this in the past, but people will go, oh, I got into a traffic accident and God saved me. And they'll completely overlook the paramedics, the doctors, the modern medical technology, the nurses, the drugs, all the rest of the stuff that actually saved their lives. God didn't just appear before them and touch them on the top of the head and poof, they were healed. They have no way. They jump from point A to point B with nothing in between. It's a wild leap of irrationality, but they won't recognize that.
Yeah. Well, actually, it kind of reminds me of that scene in Pulp Fiction where they get shot at and all the bullets missed, and that's when he has his epiphany that he had a much more important thing in the world, to do. So he was going to give up being a gangster. The odds and the probabilities. Again, I can even go back to the Kennedy stuff. A lot of there's claims that the bullets were 1 in a million shot. Well, you just need one, to hit. And when these things happen, there's nothing out of the ordinary that, you're in an accident and you just happen to be the least injured or the easiest to get to. The paramedics, while they may have to work on you, they didn't have to work on you as hard. So you survive and you think, oh my God, you look at the car and it's all crumpled up. I mean, it's 1 in a million and it was your million shot. The next time around you might not be so lucky. And, but believing that somehow some mythical being had something to do with that. I mean, it's kind of sad to think that if you're going to place your belief on something, I mean, I think it would have to be something a lot more serious than, let's say, a car accident or all the bullets missing you type of thing. I think it would have to be some type of burning bush or something like that, at least to convince me. Because like in Justin's debate, the pastor kept saying, well, he had a personal experience, but he wouldn't explain what it was. Okay, but no one else saw it. I mean, how do we know what really went on? Trying to rely upon that, or at least relying on that as a basis. I mean, to me, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not. I mean, apparently it's not even luck. It's just the law of averages.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of it is. And it kind of leads into my number 4 point, which is logical errors and absurd claims, because this really is the overlying concept that really makes everything else work. They are just going to make an irrational leap from an event to a supposed cause without proving that the cause was really responsible for the event. How many times have we seen people say, this happened, therefore God? That's no more useful than going, this happened, therefore Bigfoot, or this happened, therefore artichoke. There's no direct causal link between the event and what you're claiming caused the event. And they don't seem to understand that. I've told people, I don't believe that your event was caused by God. How do you come to that conclusion? What convinced you? And no one can ever show me a step-by-step causal link between, whatever happened to them and whatever it is that they want to claim that caused it. They just like to feel that way. It's a completely emotional, irrational, ridiculous position to hold, but that's what they hold. And you can keep pointing it out, but they don't listen because they don't care, because it's just all about feeling good. And that's a huge, huge problem.
Yeah. Like with my story, I mean, I can trace my path, kind of believing in God, not believing, how I got to where I'm at right now. And I can do that, step by step. And I can do that fairly rationally. I think it makes sense. But if you're going to snap and, okay, I'm believing in God because I saw a bright light and blah, 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 it's like, okay, but what was the bright light? How did you get to that point? What led up to that point? Because, I've heard stories about people, it always seems like, it's always like some drug story, it's like they were getting high, doing cocaine, big bucks, a lot of money, driving, fancy cars, had all the women, and then all of a sudden their life seemed empty, and that's when they turned to God. I mean, okay, well, something happened in there. What happened? And they probably won't tell you that. Well, he got busted with a kilo of cocaine, and he spent a couple of years in prison, and then that's where he found Islam or whatever whatever they do in prison to, of course.
He bent over and reached for the soap. I don't know.
Right.
And Islam found him.
Yeah.
But Islam was a big guy in the cell house.
Yes. But that whole, when I was semi-believing, I don't think I ever really had any strong beliefs, but I don't remember anything pushing me in that direction. I mean, it seemed to be the other direction, that, toward, disbelief instead of into belief. So, can't really relate to anything. So, I don't know.
Well, I never really had a conversion experience because I started out as a Christian, or I was indoctrinated as a Christian, and, I never got converted to Christianity or to any other religion. But there were certainly things that I identified at the time as being supernatural experiences, where I would feel God, or I'd feel like Jesus was in my heart and all that kind of stuff. And it takes a lot of time, but once you get out of that kind of mindset, you start to realize, well, that's not really what I was feeling. I was just blindly identifying this event or this experience or this feeling with something that I already believed, or something that was already inside my head. And that's the same thing that theists do today. They just jump to this conclusion that something has happened and it must be God because they want it to be God. But they can't really show that it's actually God. And that's really where their whole thing falls apart. The problem is that these people they're not willing to consider any other alternative than their favored God explanation. The guy falls down and breaks his arm and doesn't get run over by a car or something,
Right.
I was stumbling around in traffic and I didn't get hit, therefore God. Well, no, there's nothing that indicates God had anything to do with it. You actually have to say, okay, why didn't the cars hit you? Were the drivers trying to avoid you? Or did God magically stop all the cars in the middle of traffic and he teleported you out? That might be a pretty good explanation for God, although it could also be an explanation for aliens. Or whatever, super science or superheroes or it doesn't, whatever.
Or very good drugs.
Or very good drugs. But they're not willing to say what was the actual cause of this experience. It's gotta be this thing that I like. And that's what all of these experiences are. But that's why this doesn't convince anybody. Because you're not even willing to be honest with yourself about what actually happened. All you're doing is just saying this explanation makes me feel good. Therefore, I'm going to assume that it's this explanation. They're not willing to say, I don't even know what happened. And say, I don't know is a good explanation. And it's a better explanation than just making one up in your head and saying this is it. Right. But again, these people are hypocritical and they're not willing to think about their religious beliefs. And this is where theists fail. This is why William Lane Craig fails. This is why all of these apologists fail. They're not going to convince me. Because they've got these really stupid ideas that might be convincing to them on a wholly emotional level, but they're not at all convincing to anybody who's rational, intellectual, who looks at evidence and demands proof. They're not going to prove anything to us because we're not that damn stupid. And it's really hard to convince these people that they're just being stupid.
Well, they definitely don't understand, logical fallacies and things like that because they'll make their arguments and not realize A and B doesn't equal C, or A and B equals C. They don't understand that there's, you make this statement getting from point A to point B, you gotta have some way of explaining how you got there, and you can't just make stuff up. And I would like to think that even skeptics should be aware, and probably why it's so easy for us to deal with, their arguments and they just not understanding why we don't get it. Well, we get it. We understand that you're telling us bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
These people need to understand that you can't just go from point A to point Z without tossing any of the other coordinates in the middle and saying, see, I just proved God. No, you didn't. You have not demonstrated anything. You've proven your own gullibility. That's all you've proven. And I desperately wish that I could convince theists of what they're doing wrong. Because it seems pretty damn obvious to me. And I'm not sure why it's not obvious to them. Especially the ones that are well educated and, the people who've been to college and who've taken logic classes and who basically just stick logic in a little box off in the corner and ignore it when they're doing their religious stuff and then they take it back out when they're doing other things. There are scientists who are religious who just do not know how to apply science to their religion. How do we fix this? Anybody out there, tell us.
Yeah. I mean, I'm at a loss because, logic and reason, all that kind of stuff, stuff we apply to, real world principles, real world events. There are various requirements, constraints, all that kind of stuff to get, and we can get when dealing with something real and physical and that we can get from A to B, no problem. And somehow, maybe the answer is that they don't want to do that because that will destroy their faith. If you can prove how you got from A to B, it may end up, whatever was that glued those two together, that little bit of faith that put those 2 points together, and you realize, well, I'm taking this on faith, then everything falls apart. And they maybe even know that, and they don't want to do it because, their religious world then falls apart.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's probably more true than anything else. I'd really love to find somebody, some expert or even some theist who's willing to come on with us and discuss, the nature of faith and the nature of all of these claims. But I don't think I can because none of them are willing to be honest about it. None of them, like you said before, are willing to step back and say, let's look at how this looks from the outside. Because I don't think they really care.
They care, or if they did, it destroys their worldview. religion is their foundation that they've built their whole world upon, if you tear apart that foundation, everything comes down. And that might be scary to some people that, hey, I believe the world to work this way. And but now I might have to think a different way, and says, well, I feel safer believing this, and I see a lot of people like that where this is the way things are done. You don't rock that boat. And if you do, you get a little backlash from it. And, some of these engineers, architects, they're a weird bunch, but they have their systems, how they like to do things. What has to happen, A, B, C, D to get, and architects are even worse, cause everything's, and it's all artsy with them. But you take one part of that out, or that part of that system out, to them everything collapses, how they built everything in their heads. And, they'll be pretty adamant. Oh no, you have to keep that step in there. You gotta keep this here, You take that away and they end up losing track. And I think that's, as far as religion goes, you pull out, faith, you pull out whatever little pieces, and you start taking those pieces away, your basis of your worldview starts breaking, shattering, it eventually will collapse, and people are scared of that.
I don't know, I'm not. I actually give a crap if what I believe is real. If somebody were to prove to me that there was a God right this second, I would convert and believe in that God right this second. I'm not going to sit down and go, well, let's see, how would that confuse what I really already believe? I don't give a crap. I only care that I believe as many true things as I can and reject as many false things and know how to tell the difference between the two. But theists don't seem to want to do that. They just want to live in their own little comfortable bubble and reject anything that doesn't make them feel good. And even if what they're believing is complete and utter bullshit, it doesn't matter to them because they're happy. Well, fuck happy. Yeah. I don't give a crap about happy.
Well, like you're saying, if there was proof that there was a God, you would convert. You would jump.
I would believe that the God was real.
Right.
I may or may not worship the God, depending on what the qualities of the God was, but I absolutely would believe that the God existed.
But then again, that's all based upon, facts and in real information. That's not based on fantasy and faith. And I think that's probably one of the big differences. I have no problem believing in UFOs. That aliens are visiting us. I'd like to have proof. If there's a God, I'd like to have proof. I want him to, I've said it before. I think you've said it before. If he's standing right next to me, I want to shake his hand and introduce him to all my atheist friends. It's like, that's what I want. That's the kind of proof I want. That's not as bad as if you're taking it away. If you got real proof, you're talking real tangible, everything is physical in place to have a God. When your belief in God is based on faith and belief and dogma or whatever, these are just words and ideas. This is not concrete and iron, type of thing. So when you start playing with those, and for some reason, and I think with theists, these are kind of lofty ideas and concepts is your foundation, not fact and real world type stuff. Having, this faith taken away, or having your beliefs taken away, or you're having the dogma or the, whatever taking away, that may be more scarier.
I'm not really worried about taking away anything from anybody because I can't take away from anybody. Nobody can come to me and take away my skepticism. It's not something that you can do. All right. But if I hold a belief that is false, I want to reject that. That's got to come from within me. That's not from something else. Nobody can come and do that for me. That's got to be something that I'm not only willing to do, but something that I want to do. And these people don't want to do that. And it's no wonder these people are so fucked up in the head.
Yeah. Personally, I like to think it is, the structure of their worldview. You start tinkering with that, it bothers them. Because if you do take away faith, and I think that would be the big thing, you take away faith, everything collapses. Because you really are dependent upon faith to believe that, this God, the Christian God is, you have to have faith to believe in it, because you can't know, you can't touch, you can't, whatever.
Yeah, but that's the problem, is that these people don't want to give that up.
Right,
these people, they're clinging to their faith because they want this conclusion, not because they give a damn if the conclusion is real.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Like, what I want to get to is that, that the faith is what keeps everything in their world going. If that goes away, their world collapses. And
it should.
It should. But that's probably too scary for these people. It's, that their world is going to change, and they don't want to. They're comfortable in their little God world, and that's why they're dependent upon faith. And I mean, I'd like to have faith in something, but it's kind of hard,
But I don't want to have faith in anything. Faith is pointless and useless. I can look in the world around me and come to conclusions based on logic and reason and evidence, and I don't need to have faith in anything. Faith is a useless, pointless, stupid thing to have, and it's certainly not something any rational human being ought to want.
I think that's what's the important part. I think that's the important key, in at least what we're talking about, is faith. Is, I don't know if you can call it the glue or the keystone to all this is faith, and that keeps their world spinning.
Yeah, but unfortunately it's an imaginary world, and it's not the world that should be spinning. They should actually give a damn. So, unfortunately we get back to the point where I think a lot of these people are just too pathetic and just sad to handle reality.
Well, that's the thing. I want to say I noticed quite a few people where they live in their little world. They're very happy there. And it doesn't necessarily have to be religious. I mean, I've seen some people, there's some strange people out there, and granted they're schizophrenic, or turned out to be schizophrenic. Another one was probably more drug oriented, but that world that they work themselves into, in one case it was pretty destructive. The other one, I won't go into those details. But it's being trapped in that world that you can't, you're afraid to get out of. I mean, I can say things like, there are those who are happy being on welfare because it's a nice, easy, comfortable world that they're in, where, they can get their stamps, and they got the subsidized this and that and all that kind of stuff. But if you maybe get some extra education to get a better job, well, that's too scary for them to do. They don't want to do that. They don't want to improve themselves because it means, that they're going to, they'll learn something and they can go, maybe make $10 more an hour or something like that, but that's too scary because you have these responsibilities and these things that you got to take care of. I've seen that logic,
I have too. Trust me.
Yeah. So it's, they're happy with what they got, even if it's very little. I mean, have a friend who was, he got out of, Czechoslovakia, back when it was under the communists, and, a lot of those people they were happy with the communists running the country. They didn't mind being watched all the time, and my friend was telling me he was setting up a vacation, which is almost like a code word for we're escaping. And so the state was watching him like a hawk. He couldn't sell any of his stuff, and literally he said he wanted to go to, I think it was not Austria, but he took a vacation to I wonder if it was Hungary, but he ended up literally in the dead of winter abandoning their car and everything and tread across into Austria to get out of Czechoslovakia, giving up everything. All his furniture was left behind. And actually, after he left, and the police realized he was gone, they confiscated everything. He was tried out of absentia for, escaping. The family was, harassed and all that kind of stuff. And he was telling me when he went back, a lot of the people there said, well, we were pretty happy under the communists. I was like, I'm thinking, oh my God, everything was being watched. People were being arrested for just even thinking,
yeah, now look what's happened in this country,
Yeah.
We're all being watched and, we're all under the, socialists.
Right.
Fuckers.
But there's people who are happy under that situation, and it's like, it must be something psychological. I mean, I don't know if it's a block or what, I don't know. I'm not no expert on the human brain, but definitely something along that lines.
Yeah, I don't know. But like I said, if anybody wants to come on with us and we can have a discussion about why the religious are so fucking stupid, or, I don't know, I don't want to say stupid necessarily, why they have these mental blocks that are stopping them from dealing with reality. I welcome you on. Let me know. The website has all the links to let you contact us, and please come on and talk to us.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be pretty interesting to understand. I mean, I'd like to understand why hang on to this in light of, the advances in science and all this stuff. I don't necessarily embrace it, but hey, there's some cool stuff out there, repressing the inner sanctums of atoms and molecules. We're getting more and more sophisticated in, what we're seeing in the universe. I mean, in some cases, I think our technology is throwing us backwards. NSA.
That's not technology. That's just.
But
yeah.
But it's there's good and bad. But you know what? There's a real world out there. The planet was not created in 6,000 years. We know a lot. Why can't they accept a 3 or 4 billion year old Earth and whatever billion solar system and all that kind of stuff? I mean, I would be interested in.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to have that discussion. I'd love to understand this, but I don't think anybody really knows.
Yeah.
Outside of they're just stupid and pathetic. And on that note, I think we should probably kill it for the week.
Well, it's already been killed.
Oh, yeah.
It's already been dead.
We will come back and revisit this topic at some point in time in the future, hopefully with a guest, but you never know.
Right.
Now I'm all depressed again. I'm getting so depressed doing this show. You don't see the stupidity of religion until you actually do a show that focuses on the stupidity of religion.
Honestly, I can't joke about this stuff. I can't laugh at it. I mean, I can giggle about it because, my God, these guys are stupid, like a Ray Comfort video. I mean, just how funny that guy is, but then how pathetic, it's like it tears you in two different directions. I mean, it's not just, it's just not sad, but it's sad, but it could have been prevented, or it has no logic to it. I mean, because we could joke on about bananas and whatever, but it's still pretty pathetic that people believe what they believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to say, okay, this is a joke. It's another to say, these people take this joke seriously. What's wrong with humanity? Right. All right, I'm done. I'm done.
Let's put a stake in it and be done with it.
Yeah. All right. Time went by so fast. The show is over, and now we start working on the next one. Do us a favor by telling your friends about us. The more people listen, the more fun the show is for everyone. Give us a rating on Stitcher Radio and iTunes. Those also make us more visible to new listeners. Until next week, take care of yourself and remember, think rationally and intelligently. It's what makes us more logical than the religious. Farewell.
Good night.
You've been listening to the Bitchspot Report podcast with your hosts, Cephas and Mike. You can follow us on Twitter respectively at Bitchspot1 or at JDRipper1962. Please visit our website at report.jdragononline.com. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/TheBspotReport. We're also on Google+, iTunes, and YouTube. Those links are at our website. We'd love to hear from you. You can reach us via email at report@jdragononline.com. Comments, ideas, and suggestions are always welcome. We'll be back next week with another fun and fact-filled episode. Please tune in again.